All right. Well, welcome everybody, and thank you so much for joining our webinar today. My name is Katrina Pila, I'm Marketing Manager at GW Publisher, and I am so excited today to be joined by Modern Automotive Technology author Brian LaCroix. Before we dive into our webinar, I just wanted to share just a few quick housekeeping items. While you're all muted, please feel free to enter questions in the chat at any time. My colleagues, Kathy Sheffers and Aaron Brennan, will be monitoring the chat box. And Brian and I will make sure to leave plenty of time throughout to answer any questions that you might have. So Modern Automotive Technology is a comprehensive solution that will take your students from class to career, covering the 8 ASE systems areas and correlated to all 3 levels of the latest ASE Education Foundation task lists. This text details the construction, operation, diagnosis, service, and repair of late model automobiles and light trucks. We are so excited to walk through the many updates that were made to make this new edition more organized, user-friendly, and up-to-date, providing the most comprehensive resource for your auto classroom and shop. Brian will walk through the extensive updates to the table of contents and highlight some of the brand new chapters now available. So as we get started, please take a moment to get familiar with the chat feature and share where you're joining us from today. All right. I am very happy to introduce new author, Brian LaCroix. Brian is an ASE certified world-class technician who holds 26 ASE certifications as a master automobile technician with A9 certification, a master collision repair technician, and a master medium-heavy truck technician. Brian holds an instructor position with the Capital Region Board of Cooperative Educational Services, BOCES, in Albany, New York, where he has taught since 2007. At this time, I'm very happy to turn things over to Brian to let him share a little bit more about himself.
Thanks, Katrina. Thanks everybody for joining. Super pumped to be here, and what an honor to kind of take on this project. Also a little nervous. This is new to me, doing these sort of things, doing the webinar, but really happy to be here with you and that you're joining us. So yeah, my background really much like our students that we teach. I joined a automotive high school automotive program. Didn't know what I wanted to do, but definitely knew I was a non-traditional learner. I liked working with my hands. I always had that inquisitive knowledge, that wanted to know how everything worked. And power sports really, that's kind of my passion, is power sports, snowmobiling, dirt bike, four-wheeler, stuff like that. I really love doing that stuff, but wasn't necessarily going to make a great living at it. So got into the automotive section, and that really kind of took off. Had a great instructor, definitely one of the catalysts for me to get into teaching, was my high school automotive instructor, Tom Haskins, and he's still teaching to this day, which is awesome. So I was fortunate enough to participate in 4 AAA competition in high school, won that for Vermont State. I ended up going to a Ford Asset program at my local community college, and I worked with Ford where I was a senior master tech. We were a dual store, where Ford and Mazda in the same store. I was able to become a Mazda master technician also, and I worked there right up until coming to teach in 2007. Just looking for something different. I always thought this would be a great career to get into, teaching and kind of sharing knowledge and excitement and passion. And it's been great. What a ride. 18 years later, it seems like it was just yesterday. And I'm sure many of you can relate to, kind of a similar story. It's just time flies. And the excitement in igniting our students' passion. And here, I guess this is my next way to help do that, right, through modern automotive technology, and try to, help bring everything up. Been involved in some other projects, many, chapter reviews, things like that for Goodheart-Willcox, in my 18 years of teaching. Also, we were fortunate enough to receive a grant from New York State Energy Research Division, NYSERDA, and New York State Power Authority. And myself and another colleague developed some curriculum that's shared amongst the other BOCES in New York State for hybrid and electric vehicle safety. So entry level technician stuff, safe operation and working around the vehicle. So kind of exciting to have those things under our belt. And another feature, bringing into Modern Automotive Technology 11th edition. So.
Thank you. And of course, we know behind every great author is a group of subject matter experts who serve as reviewers. So Brian had a team of 36 individuals who shared their time and expertise with us, and we are very happy to recognize them here today. And we highlighted a couple names of those who registered for our webinar. So welcome, especially to those of us who are able to join today.
Huge thanks to everybody that was part of this as the review team. Your feedback is definitely critical in steering projects like this in the right direction, as we move forward to the latest technology. Because what we put in print today is just a snapshot, a glimpse into the future. So couldn't have done it without your support. So definitely thank you.
All right, so let's get into the text. The 11th edition of Modern Automotive Technology is organized around the ASE automobile and light truck test areas and correlated to the ASE Education Foundation task list. It has been thoroughly revised by Brian and carefully vetted by instructors across the country to ensure the material is technically accurate, up to date, and presented in the most logical and effective manner. So information is presented by ASE certification area using a vehicle system theory and service approach that starts with an overview of system design, components, and operation, and is followed by testing, diagnoses, and service of the system. So with the exception of a few smaller systems that necessitate combining theory and service into one chapter, each major automotive system is covered in 2 or more chapters. The first chapter explains the construction and operation of a specific system. The next chapter expands on this knowledge by discussing diagnosis, service, and repair of the same system. So Brian, the table of contents is significantly updated with the 11th edition. We'll talk about the chapters you added shortly, but can you give us more background behind the reorganization of the table of contents and why did you approach it this way?
Yeah, absolutely. One of the things that was always a challenge as an instructor was some of the layout of where things are in the book, and I'm sure many of the people that joined us today have experienced that. If you want to, maybe you're doing your entry level unit with your students and trying to teach them about some basic services and tires. Well, you've got to go into some different areas in the book to how do you mount and balance a tire, what's the theory behind that, and engine oil. Maybe when we learn about engine oil, that's in the engine chapter, and this stuff's kind of scattered throughout. One of the things that I really wanted to do was kind of streamline the book, and let's get all those foundational chapters, to make a student really entry level, get them out into the shop and kind of work and doing some basic service, get that all together in the front matter of the book. Really talk about like kind of the foundational skills is kind of, where what I considered it, where we find that in the ASE task list, those foundational skills of, career readiness, safety, all that stuff, just, fluids. One of the chapters, oils, coolants, lubricants, and chemicals. Just, what is it? How do you know what oil is supposed to look like? Well, at one point, coolant was all green, and that's far from the case now. You could have red coolant, red transmission fluid. You could have green coolant or green transmission fluid. So having all those, getting all that stuff together in one area was kind of my priority, and then really to lay out the rest of the book as the ASE certification areas. Whether you teach one unit, whether it's engine repair from start to finish, or you just want to, do a little bit of each one, everything's kind of in one area for you, as well as trying to do a deeper dive in some stuff that, maybe hasn't been in there in previous editions.
That's great. So let's dive in a little bit deeper. So with this new textbook organization, students can really master their foundational skills first. So Brian, can you talk about why this was important to update and then walk through a little bit about how you would maybe use this text in your program with this new organization?
Right. Kind of, as I was just alluding to, having that safety unit right up front in the chapter, learning about, or in section one, learning about the automobile, the construction of the automobile, some of the history of it, um, what what different systems do we operate in, or do we need to learn about within the automobile, basic hand tool safety, what are the different hand tools, power tools, things like that. And another one that seemed to be missing was what it's on your screen now, chapter 10, vehicle cleaning and detailing. As we know, our entry level technicians, our learners, are not always the cleanest. And while they think it's easy to clean a car, sometimes they do some more damage to, a fender when they wipe a nice shop rag on the fender of a car. And now we have to perform some paint correction. So this is kind of really a good exposure to the real basics, as well as some different career aspects, you know, career paths within the automotive industry, whether they focus on vehicle cleaning and detailing, or want to get into other specialty areas. We kind of branched out a little bit more with those, as well as that, oils, coolants, lubricants, chemicals. We had one for fasteners and gaskets and sealants, but how about that other stuff that we work with on a day-to-day? Students going to perform hundreds of oil changes before they actually tear an engine apart, remove an engine from a vehicle. Let's make sure that they know, everything that they should know about engine oils and the fluids and all their maintenance checks, what it's supposed to look like first. So
That's great. So we wanted to dive in a little bit more of some of the new chapters and new sections that have been added to this textbook. So I'd like to take a look at a few of those right now. So right here, we're looking at section 8, and this is the HVAC system, so HVAC system. So chapters 59 through 61. New chapter 61, EPA section 609, review of refrigerant recovery and handling regulations, discusses the importance of technicians following proper protocols and handling air conditioning system refrigerants safely and legally. It also reviews safety procedures and regulation standards set by EPA Section 609 of the Clean Air Act regarding that service of motor vehicle air conditioning systems. So walk us through a little bit about the creation of this chapter and why it was important to add to the text.
yeah, absolutely. So definitely one of the most important things is that we need to be teaching our students to perform automobile repair, system repair safely, legally, environmentally conscious. And um, one of the key factors, as everybody on this, I'm sure is well aware of, is having that 609 certification, to make sure that they are legally compliant to perform air conditioning repair, as well as performing everything environmentally safe, and doing what they're supposed to do. So without having to go to another source, we've rolled in as much as we can, to create our own EPA 609. It's not a standalone. We don't offer a test. You'll still have to go to another test vendor, but basically, just like you would with ASE or Max or somebody else. But all the content is in here, so you're able to seamlessly um, teach your students that additional aspect of following up with regulations, with your licensure, and again, talking about the the legalities and liability that falls on a technician when they're out in the field, right? Just because they're doing something, they were told to do something by their boss. Well, maybe they do it, but it's still ultimately their liability if they are doing something that doesn't that breaks the law. So trying to stay on that aspect. So just seemed like it was a great ad and a great place to be here. So
Yeah, absolutely a great ad. And then also some new to this edition here that we'll look at and kind of walk through together is new chapter 71. And this is computer networks. Explains how vehicle computer network systems are structured and communicate data, how technicians should analyze the data, and how technicians should troubleshoot the computer network systems really to ensure that vehicles operate safely and effectively. We also you added new section 10 with chapter 78, and that one's that hybrid and electric vehicle safety. This new chapter really outlines the required precautions, personal protective equipment, automotive testing equipment and tools, high voltage electric system lockout processes, and designated procedures that technicians must adhere to when servicing hybrid or electric vehicles to really prevent injury and then vehicle damage. And then we also can see a new section 11, and this is advanced driver assistance systems and services with new chapter 84, advanced driver assistance systems, diagnosis and service. This chapter covers the diagnosis, service, and collaboration of advanced driver assistance and the specialized tools and equipments technicians use to service these systems. So quite a bit of brand new information that we've added to this new 11th edition. So, again, talk us through a little bit about, the decision to add these and why this is so important for students as they go through this course.
right, yeah. So starting with computer networks, really, everything is most everything is network controlled in a vehicle. If we want to, adjust our power window, turn on our rear defroster, open our sunroof, whatever it is, everything it's network controlled. In a way to reduce wiring and module communication. It's very important. And what we're finding is, the students need to learn. As long as they learn about this stuff early on in their training, right? Because they're going to be lifelong learners, and make sure that they're aware that this is how it's working. They're going to be more successful in understanding how to diagnose how these systems operate. Definitely something that had been lacking, and trying to bring everything in one area. Understanding how these systems work. It is complex, but if we can try to lay it out in a way where the students can digest it more manageable, and especially with the instructor's expertise, to guide them along the way, more than just a power and a ground to a circuit. So the other thing when we get into section 10, the high voltage systems, whatever it is, and we really talk about electric drive, high voltage, EV drive technology. There's a lot of systems that overlap. There's systems that, they're tucked away all over the place in vehicles. And it's not, I keep hearing it. I'm sure other people have, where they say, oh, this stuff's coming. It's been here for years. We've just, haven't been giving it the spotlight that it deserves. And we need to make sure that we're paying attention to it and doing our due diligence when we're training our students, in these systems. And really the focus is on entry-level learners, entry-level technicians. Everybody that, kind of continues on, they're going to, continue, whatever level of training before they dive into tearing apart a high voltage battery or getting into these systems, wherever they land. But this is really to make them aware of it. And it shouldn't be, a scenario where our students are scared of a system because it's high voltage and because there's dangers there. We just need to teach them how to operate the systems, work around these systems themselves in a safe manner. And again, not being scared of it, then they'll be fine. and basically it's a great way for them to be specialists in these areas where there's a lot of people kind of running away. They don't want to be part of it. Regardless how long, whatever the climate is with political stuff, these vehicles, there's lots of them on the road, there's lots of them in service, and they're going to need maintenance and repair of some level for the next 10, 20, 30 years. So, and again, with the ADAS system, section 11, there's so many things that are overlooked. And as I got into it, a huge lack of standardization between manufacturers and how to program and calibrate. And it's really an awareness, making sure our learners have an awareness of all these systems, how to find out proper calibration procedures, what's entailed in a proper calibration procedure. Sometimes it's as simple as taking the vehicle for a drive and entering, the self-learn mode, and it'll calibrate itself. Other times there's sophisticated equipment and we need trihedral targets and, some very specific measurements, distance measurements from these systems on a level surface, in a clean room environment to calibrate these systems safely, not safely, but can calibrate the systems properly so that the drivers can operate safely. And again, that technician liability piece, right? They're on the hook for it. So if they do something wrong or fail to do something, we don't want to have anything happen, and just making everybody aware of it. So.
Right. And then one of the last things that we wanted to share were these ASE type questions. Again, meant to help students prepare for the types of questions that are encountered on the ASE certification tests. Excuse me. So Brian, I'd just love to hear a little bit more about these questions and really their importance for preparing students for certification.
Absolutely. And as we all know, I'm sure most or all of you have some level of ASE certification, and this is how even manufacturers are assessing their technicians. This is how we get our certification. So this just makes the most sense on how to prepare our students for their certification upon graduation or completion as they progress through their professional career. Updating all these questions, making sure that they are accurate and relevant and rigorous. That's top priority. So.
I just wanted to pause here to see if there were any questions that came through any of the updates that Brian walked us through today.
Yes. Hi, Katrina. A couple things. We had a lot of people enter where they're from, and it's very neat to see. We have people from so many different states across the country. So that's always
Awesome.
great to see everybody together. And then as Brian was talking about his history with teaching, we asked our audience how many years they had been teaching. So I'm sure, Brian, after the session, you'll love to look through the chat and see. I think, let's see, we have a 38 years at the Ford dealer with Ricky Newton. He might have the most longevity with us today. But Tracy Hicks did mention, he asked the question, did wheel bearings move to brakes too instead of being with wheels and tires? And I mentioned in the chat about section 5 with suspension and steering systems. There was some information there on the wheel bearings, but that's as much as I could answer, Brian. So I figure you can talk more technically about that content.
Yeah, I think it's still with it's still where it falls in the ASE, like the task list. We didn't want to move too much out of those chapters. When we start deviating too much, that's where it kind of becomes a problem, where we start doing the crosswalks. I think that it would be, good to have them in both areas. And there's some stuff that, as that ASE task list adjusts, we can definitely align the curriculum with it. But I definitely agree with having things in either multiple areas or different areas. But there's definitely more to do on the 12th edition. But that makes sense.
Yeah, thank you so much. And then we just have another question. from John, who said, I appreciate that early chapters are building a foundation, but at what point are electrical fundamentals and then basic fault diagnosis, high resistance shorts and opens introduced? Can the early foundation chapter stand alone without delving into electrical until later chapters?
Yes. And I think we could all agree that everybody teaches their program a little bit different, what we want to teach first. Or it may be if you're in a college setting or whatever, you may get a group at whatever point. So really it's up to the instructor to kind of, go wherever they want, wherever either maybe the students want to go in a certain direction, or they've got, marching orders from their school, whatever the case is. It really gives the instructors the autonomy to kind of move around and do whatever they want to do, however they want to teach it in the priority level that they feel fit, without getting too in depth. I know that's the first thing that I teach personally in our program. We do the foundational stuff and right into electrical, because that's where I hold it. But not everybody's the same way. So.
Great. Thank you. Okay. So I just wanted to share a little bit about, since everybody with us today is going to receive a free sample of the online access, which will include the entire ebook and a sample of the instructor resources. I just wanted to highlight what's available digitally with Modern Automotive Technology. So I have a little screen grab here of what you can expect with our digital resources. Of course, you have your digital textbook, an online workbook, an online shop manual. We do have drill and practice vocabulary activities. Those have review questions and figure identification activities. You'll also have digitally automotive virtual toolbox, and that's really for that tool identification practice. There's an image library that's a collection of nearly all of the textbook illustrations in electronic format. We looked at quite a bit of those together today. For videos, we are significantly expanding our video offerings to serve up demonstration videos for all of the MAST Priority 1 tasks. And then you may not know this, but GW has partnered with Advanced Auto Parts to provide our users with Moto Visuals. So this is a cloud-based library of hundreds of service and repair interactive animations and narrated videos. So with this, you can provide your students with visual reinforcement of new concepts using that same technology found in thousands of automotive shops across the country. And then, of course, as instructors, you'll have access to our online instructor resources. So this contains an assortment of instructor materials. You'll see lesson plans, answer keys, PowerPoint presentations, our cloud-based GW assessment software, correlation charts, competency checks, and much more. So we're just about right on time, and I want to thank everybody for joining us today. Brian and I are available after 4:30 to answer any questions that come through the chat. So please, as you're thinking of those, if anything else came up, please enter it in the chat. And we're also happy to unmute you at this time if anybody would like to speak. So while we're waiting for questions, just a reminder that everyone who registered again will receive complimentary access to Modern Automotive Technology online textbook and a sample of instructor resources. You can also reach out to your school's dedicated GW publisher educational consultant with more information. You can schedule a demo of the textbook as well. So I'll pause here to see if any other questions came through.
Yeah, Katrina, sorry, go ahead, Brian.
No, I just wanted to say thank you to everybody that attended also before they just, started jumping off. I know everybody's had a long day, other places to be and things to do, and it does mean a lot. So I appreciate that. Thank you.
That's awesome, but you're not off the hook yet because we have some more questions.
Yes. That's right.
This is probably for Katrina. Tom is asking, he's wondering if this is a web-based program.
You can teach this, yes, you can use this online for your courses. So Tom, I don't know if you're using a learning management system like a Blackboard or Schoology, but please know our online resources will integrate seamlessly into your LMS. Or you can use our digital platform, our online learning suite, to utilize the resources for both you and your students that way.
Wonderful. And this is a great question, Katrina. Josh is asking, are the tests still being done digitally through the ExamView test generator? You know, with this being copyright 2026, we have new excitement around the tests.
Yeah, so Josh, you probably heard me say GW assessment. So that is our brand new test generator software. You may have heard that ExamView is sunsetting. So while, previous editions that have ExamView will still be available for you to use, we're moving forward with a very exciting new cloud-based platform called GW Assessment. So you'll be able to without having to download anything extra or integrate anything special, you'll be able to use all of your create all of your assessments, test your students, and utilize that resource with GW Assessment. So on that previous slide, may have noticed that there was a little kind of little box there that said GW Assessment, and that's where your test software will be.
Wonderful. And Ricky asked about how long they would have access to the online preview. I mentioned 4 months in the chat as far as the sample. And Josh was then asking if they would also get a preview of GW assessments as part of the online preview.
And I just want to make sure everybody is aware it's the entire book too. So all of these new chapters that we talked about, when we say sample, it's a pretty big sample. So you'll be able to see the entire e-text with that. And as Kathy mentioned in the chat, it is a 4-month access to preview. Your educational consultant can get you set up with everything though too. So if you know this is, the new edition you're going to move forward with, they'll be able to get you squared away with all of your resources and make sure that you have everything that you need for your class. What did I see anything else? I finally opened up the chat. I do see, yes, thank you. I do see a question. Sorry, Kathy, I don't mean to take over your job. But I see a question here from John. With our modern style learners who appreciate YouTube and TikTok style information in a quick format, are the instructional videos more live action recorded in a real shop, or are they animation heavy? So I know that we have both.
Sorry.
I didn't know. Go ahead. Yeah.
Katrina, I'm here, but I got the blue screen of death. So I'm sorry. What was the question?
Question about our videos. Are they more live action recorded in a real shop videos, or are they animation heavy?
Yeah, so we have a mix. That's a great question. So with our partnership with Advanced Auto Parts, there are a lot of animations, illustrations. What we serve up through our video library are in-shop videos. So we have system overviews. We also have some demo videos. And what we're really leaning into over the next couple of months is the creation of task-specific videos surrounding the priority ones within the ASC Education Foundation mass task list. So those will be demo specific to the task.
Thank you. I don't see any more questions coming in. I don't think we missed anything. So Brian, I'll let you have the last word once again, but just thank you everybody for joining us. And you will get a copy of this recording. We'll share it with you so you can pass it along to any of your colleagues that were able to join today. But Brian, I'll let you have the last word.
All right, thanks. I appreciate that. And again, thank you to everybody. We'll be around. I'll be at the Skills USA National event. We're hosting a session there, and as well as the ASC Instructor Conference. I believe it's in St. Louis this year. So looking forward to seeing you there, partnering up with Mandy Green, and I'll be a backup singer for Mandy. She teaches one of her awesome sessions. Definitely stop by and see us if you get a minute. So thank you for attending.